Rick Miller, our next victim. Yes, you. Rick's an old pal of Idea City as well. Last time he was here, he gave a performance of his one-man show called Bigger Than Jesus. And this time he's going to entertain us with Hardsell.
That's right.
Rick Miller.
As Moses just said, a couple of years ago, I spoke about Bigger Than Jesus, but today I'm here to talk to you about a different kind of religion, one that we are all more or less devout practitioners of, the religion of marketing. And Daniel Brooks, who co-wrote Bigger Than Jesus, we also wrote another play called Hardsell. Now, Hardsell is basically about cells, which is marketing, and cells, molecular biology, and how we seem to have evolved into these cells that sell in order to survive. Now, our starting point was the following big idea, that all the issues of the day are compounded by, contained in, even created by the issue of advertising, institutionalized lying. Now, the truth is that powerful organizations of people or corporations spend billions of dollars to buy the services of some of the world's most educated and most creative minds, who then focus their considerable skill and attention on isolating and penetrating our minds and the minds of our children, so that when these children grow older, they will become, like us, consumers of the products provided by the corporations, no matter what the physiological, psychological, or ecological consequences. Now, in this sometimes brutal world of the hard sell, our minds, our bodies, our homes, our theaters, even our cities have all become commodities for sale. And we are so enmeshed and complicit in this world that sometimes it becomes even harder to think clearly, to feel deeply, to speak coherently, and to see our own involvement in it. There. I would now like to thank the corporate sponsors who have supported today's event, who've shown their dedication to the innovation of new ideas through their support. Idea City, the smartest people, the biggest ideas. Now, of course, this is tricky territory, so let's shut me up and let's turn to an expert in the field, someone I call Dr. Clot. Real name, Dr. Clothard Fugger III, the son of Mother Fugger, a 14th generation descendant of the great Jakob Fugger, the man who invented double-entry bookkeeping, but is most famously known for having bought the papacy for King Charles V, because everything can be bought. I am a marketing consultant, but originally I was a child psychologist studying the effects of television on children. And I learned that the brain is divided into three parts. Yeah, the reptilian, the limbic system, and the cortex. Now, we are already born with the reptilian brain, and it's mainly concerned with our selfish animal desires, survival and reproduction. Then, very closely connected to the reptilian is the limbic system, the seat of our emotions. Now, this develops at a very young age when we are learning language. So for every word, love, shelter, ideas, money, we develop an emotional imprint in our neural circuitry. I call this a code, an unconscious code in our brains. And most of our behavior, specifically our consumer behavior, is dictated by this unconscious code. Then, after the age of 7, we develop the cortex, the seat of our intelligence. And traditional marketing research is all about the cortex. Yeah? They ask people questions about what they buy, why they buy, when they buy. But this is useless, because most of the time people have no idea why they're doing what they're doing. They don't have access to the unconscious code. But I do, which is why people hire me. Last year, Dr. Clot consulted with 52 of the Fortune 100 companies. He made $13.5 million after tax. Not bad for a Fugger. Now, the way I discover the unconscious code for a product is through my specially designed discovery sessions. So I hire a group of about 30 people, bring them to my mansion in Rhode Island, and together we search for the code. Now, we start with the cortex, the smart part, because everybody likes to show how intelligent they are. So we give them a chance. We call this a purge session. We don't care what they say. We don't even listen, frankly, because usually they're only spouting everything we've already told them to say through the marketing campaign. Then we get to the good stuff. We go to the limbic system, the emotions. And here I have them tell me a story as if I was a 5-year-old. One condition, it has to start with once upon a time. Once upon a time, a certain child psychologist was approached by the Nestle Corporation, who were having trouble selling instant coffee to the Japanese. Now, at that time, Nestle was heavily criticized for its aggressive marketing of infant formula in countries where potable drinking water is scarce, and for its use of child slave labor at its Ivory Coast cocoa farms. But this didn't trouble our child psychologist, who retired from his profession and began to work full-time for Nestle in Japan, where they discovered that the Japanese have no emotional imprint for coffee, only for tea. So they decided to make an imprint, and so Nestle started selling coffee-flavored yogurt to Japanese children. And now, 20 years later, Japan is the world's largest instant coffee market. Thank you, Dr. Klott. And so they tell the little story, which is usually very biased, very manipulative, yeah? And then we take a break. They go to the bathroom, yeah? Meanwhile, I take away all the chairs, I dim the lights, I play some eerie music, yeah? Yeah, they come back in, they say, oh, what? How come no chairs? What's going on? I say, no, relax, lie on the floor. Calm your breathing, calm your brain activity. And I take them on a journey from their adulthood back to when they were very, very young. And when they have reached this place, I have them think again about whatever product we're trying to decode. It could be a car, could be Kleenex, could be the NDP, whatever, yeah? Think again. Let's say it's a car. Think again about your first emotional imprint with the word car. When they have it, they write it down on a little piece of paper. When everybody's finished, we snap on the lights, I sign a few checks, I send them home, my clients and I put all the little pieces of paper on the wall, we circle a few words here and there with a red pen, and boom, the code jumps out at us. Like it was there all the time, we just needed to discover it. Now, I don't pretend I know all the codes, but when I work with a client, we try to understand why people do what they do. We try to crack their codes. Footnote. This guy is actually based on a real-life marketing consultant named Clotaire Rapaille, who was recently hired by La Ville de Québec to rebrand their city. Then a journalist from Le Soleil newspaper in Quebec accuses him of being a liar and a con man who pads his resume and manipulates stories about his childhood to seduce his clients. Now, at a press conference, Dr. Klott shrugs and says, truth manipulation is what storytelling and marketing are all about. And no one really minds. He was then fired by the city after they paid him his full taxpayer consultant fee of $300,000 taxpayer dollars, but no one really minds. No one really minds that there are people like Dr. Klott all over the world looking into hidden cameras, one-way mirrors, reaching into the deepest recesses of our brains and trying to crack our codes. There's a character in Hardsell called Arnie, my fictitious mirror twin, kind of a dark shadow alter ego sort of guy who likes to berate the world for false virtue and hypocrisy. And his biggest target is me. Hey, Rick, how's it going? Fine. Hey, I saw you hosting that reality show on TV the other night. It was called ABC's Just for Laughs. Pretty funny stuff. You know what I find really funny, though? What? Isn't ABC owned by Disney? Yes. Didn't you used to rail against Disney for still operating sweatshops in China, for repeated human rights violations, for its use of political influence to manipulate media control? Didn't you used to say that? Yes. Well, and didn't you sign a contract with Disney in 7 years in, quote, all media, known and unknown, across the universe in perpetuity, unquote? Didn't you sign that? Yes. Well, doesn't that make you a hypocrite? Yes. But hey, Rick Miller's just like all of us, right? He's just doing what it takes to make the bucks, to pay the bills, to make ends meet, to feed the family. Lovely girls, by the way, little Vivian, little Ellen. That's the way the world works. We are cells that sell in order to survive, and no one really minds. Hello, I'm Morgan Freeman, and I consist of over 100 trillion cells. Each of these cells and every living cell on Earth are all distant cousins of a single cell that lived over 3 billion years ago. Now, that very first cell had an incredible ability, the ability to replicate. And replicating took a lot of work, so that cell needed to consume nutrients for energy. In other words, that very first cell was a consumer. And that cell soon replicated exponentially until it populated our entire cherished globe with consumers. And what does one do to a consumer? One sells. One sells watches and mouthwash and tennis balls and pills and fridges and pornography and cell phones and cars and collateralized debt obligations and nuclear warheads, bullets and crack to kids. And hey, while you're at it, if you've got a product to sell, why not hire Morgan Freeman to sell it? Why? Because my rich, highly trained baritone voice has been extensively market tested by the Q-score system to connotate credibility and respect. And if you want your product to be credible and respected, you hire Morgan Freeman to sell it. Case closed. Oh, yeah. Oh, Morgan Freeman. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I feel it's time for the Hardsell phone. Wait a minute. Hey, there we go. How about that? Oh, look at that. It's time for Hardsell trivia, folks. Oh, my goodness. Which pharmaceutical company illegally marketed their drug Zyprexa to children despite evidence of severe weight gain and metabolic disorders? Hint number one, they then tried to insert a provision in the Homeland Security Act to protect them from lawsuits by angry parents. Hint number two, George Bush Sr. used to work as on the board of directors. So did Kenneth Lay, the Enron chief convicted of fraud. Hint number three, Mitch Daniels, who worked for George W. Bush, was a VP for this corporation and is now the governor of this corporation's home state, Indiana. Ladies and gentlemen, do we have an answer? Eli Lilly, you said it. Who said it over here? You get a Hardsell fun pack, my friend. Oh, yeah. Use your condom wisely, buddy. Woo! Yeah. Oh, man, I need a break. Oh, yeah. I wouldn't do that if I were you, my friend. Idea City, big ideas, bad idea, my friend. Coke! Can't you just taste the 10 spoonfuls of sugar going down the pipes, huh? Coke, it's just not good for you. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that Coke is said to dissolve nails in 4 days, right? Everybody knows that cops use Coke at car accident scenes to wipe away blood, blood stains. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that Coca-Cola Company is a huge conglomeration of smaller cells like A&W, Barks, Bacardi, Canada Dry, Crystal Light, Dasani, Dr. Pepper, Fanta, Fresca, Fruitopia, Full Throttle. Hires, High C, Mellow Yellow, Minute Maid, Nature's Own, Nestea, Orange Crush, Odwalla, Pib, Powerade, Schweppes, Seagram, Sprite, Squirt, Surge, and Tab. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that Coke pumps high volumes of water in India where potable drinking water is scarce for millions of inhabitants. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that Coke's been accused of hiring paramilitary security forces to murder, torture, detain, and silence trade union leaders at the bottling plants in Colombia. Everybody knows that, right? Okay. Did you know, folks, there's a hierarchy to product placement, product integration, that's right. You get a certain amount of money if the product is visible. You get more money if the actor consumes a product. You get more money, and here at the pay dirt, if the actor performs a heroic feat with the product in hand. There will be no heroic feat this afternoon. Coke didn't pay us a damn cent. As a matter of fact, they sent us a nasty little cease and desist letter. Hardsell Legal is wiping their ass with this very moment. Isn't that right, Moses? Don't worry, we'll put it in the proper bin. Anybody want me to sell anything? Yeah? Any big ideas you're looking for? I can sell it for $1 or $2. Well, that's right, I can do pretty much anything up here. That's right. Hey, anybody feeling underappreciated by their employer? I can advertise how valuable you are to the organization, right? Are you the one holding the whole ship together? I can do that for you. But any swinging singles out there looking for a mate to start a family with, right? I can advertise your kindness, your intelligence, your generosity, your impeccable liberal credentials, and your killer sense of humor. I can do that for you. Pay me $1 or $2, that's right. Hey, anybody living with somebody, I don't know, husband, wife, roommate, whatever, that everybody thinks is God's gift to the world, right? But you get them behind closed doors, they're a real pain in the ass, right? I can take that person down for you. That's right, I can knock them down and show the world that person's true colors. I can do that, piece of cake. Rick Miller is one of Canada's most virtuosic artists and overrated artists, and he's going back We can't find Rick Miller. In one 13-hour day of shooting just for laughs in Los Angeles, Rick made more money than most Canadian families did in an entire calendar year. In order to alleviate his deeply rooted Catholic guilt, Rick throws a few dollars at charities every December and buys red products from the Gap. Last year, he spewed 43 tons of carbon into the atmosphere and magically made them disappear by the purchase of $623 of carbon offsets. Rick tries to look smart by recycling and spouting other people's ideas, but is unable to pull them together into a meaningful point of view. And at times, his self-righteousness makes him sound like a real jackass. You see, we all have this army, this voice of chaos and destruction inside all of us. And these voices exist, these selfish animal desires are lurking underneath the surface of all of modern society. And if they were to be unleashed at once, this could produce anarchy. So, it is comforting to know that there are people like me who are peering deeply into the unconscious minds of the masses, cracking their codes, and distracting them by feeding these selfish animal desires with products. Some people say this is a bad thing, yeah? But in order to maintain democracy and freedom, the conscious manipulation of the masses is necessary. It not only manages the potentially violent mob instinct, it creates a productive economy, makes people's lives a little less brutish, makes people a little more happy. And you tell me what's wrong with that? Really, what is wrong with that? I mean, seriously. I mean, what's wrong with being happy and distracted? You know, being cynical, thinking that, you know, everything's for sale and that selfishness invades everywhere. It makes you more and more cynical. It makes you depressed. And these cynical thoughts start swirling in your head and it becomes like an addiction. Does anyone know this? Right? You become addicted to cynicism. It eradicates hope. So what do you do to break out of this prison cell of cynicism? Well, like with any addiction, it starts here with a shift in perception. When you change how you perceive, you take control of your life. See, that was easy. Well, no. Sometimes it takes a crisis to allow you to break out of the ordinary. But when you do so, you learn to exceed your vision, to see the way the earth connects. You see yourself powering change in the lives of those around you. Human energy is connecting people of all ages, all races, all sexes, touching lives, improving life. Welcome to the human network. Now you're playing with power. The power of you. Oh yes, it's all about you. It's all inside. You're richer than you think. And yes, you can make a difference. So, get out there. Make yourselves heard. Can you hear me now? Good. The audience is listening. So, take a deep breath. Are you ready? Fuel your fire. Put a tiger in your tank and accelerate your life. Pure life. Oh, there is no substitute. It's everywhere you want to be. It gives you wings. It lifts and separates you. You and I were meant to fly. Oh, it's the happiest place on earth. It keeps going and going and going. Now it's the happiest place on earth. A taste of paradise, and it's yours to discover. You can do it. Yes, you can. So now what, right? Here I stand in my little cell, confused, a brain swirling with cynical thoughts and with advertising messages that pretty much say that I can do anything, buy anything, say anything I want, so long as it makes me happy. And, you know, like most people, I'm addicted to and complicit with the flow of information on these things. And that joy, that rush, that connectivity we feel, I also know that this is superficial. And it comes at a cost, the cost of the erosion of a deeper connection with other human beings and with the natural world. And yet, I go on, failing, flawed, aware of the cost, aware of my complicity, trying to find meaning, trying to see that events like these are actually going to make a difference, trying to create community, to be a good neighbor, a good husband, a good father, a good citizen, trying to look at myself in the mirror and see how I can make as much of a difference as possible and serve others better and cause as little damage to the world as possible. Now, I no longer work for Disney, which is fine, but it doesn't absolve me of responsibility because we still have choices and our choices have consequence because we are truly connected as citizens, as consumers, and as cells that sell. And one final thing, speaking of selling, hey, if you like this, come to the Factory Theater. Their season launch is a trio of Rick Miller performances, including Mac Homer, The Simpsons do Macbeth, Bigger Than Jesus, and yes, Hardsell. Thank you very much. Rick Miller.
That was fabulous. Thank you. Good job.
Thanks.
Let's go this way.